I think Rockstar should stop doing meet and greets in general. I think it kind of kills the mystique. I mean, the
Right.
mystique is dead with social media. Now we all know that all of our favorite celebrities are fucking retards. But yeah, the reason Robert Plant was cool back in the 70s was because you couldn't fucking meet him and you knew nothing about him. You had to be a fucking girl who is fucking backstage, and even then, he probably barely said a fucking word to her. Um, you
Yeah, you
know,
have to be a groupie.
but the reason
So
people do
true.
meet and greets now is because the music industry is dead. So musicians don't make money from their music anymore. So they have to do things like meet and greets to make money. Ozzy doesn't need the money, I'm sure. I would imagine in this case, the convention probably begged Ozzy to come on as opposed to the other way around, if we're being real.
Well, so yeah, I mean, they it seems like they've been doing this because the people that run the convention wrote a comment because people were complaining and they were like, well, we don't handle the prices. This is a package that they create and that they've used before with their publicists. So it's, I don't know. It
Rob, you
just
said
makes sense.
Rob, you said it best. Like that was a good example of Robert Plant, right? So Led Zeppelin was super mysterious because you couldn't meet any of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was like a fucking band that was like, you got what is it? You got starstruck just being in an audience watching them. And like, when you lose that kind of aura, same thing with Pink Floyd. Now it's like, meet fucking David Gilmour like for $2,000. Like it's corny, and like Protomax said, it's not rock and roll. But
yeah,
like you said, they got to make their money somehow because people don't buy CDs anymore or fucking, whatever.
and think about like Kiss, dude. Imagine if you could just pay to meet Kiss in the 70s. Like it would just ruin everything. It's Yeah, no, it's
Right.
super weird. Like I said, I get it. We've basically destroyed the music industry with streaming and illegal downloads and all that shit. So they got to make money somehow. Every band now. Bands don't make money from music anymore, which means, well, what it is that record labels and management companies don't make money from CD sales. Usually, a deal between a record label and a band back in the day, all of it was between the CDs or records. However many records you sell, we take this much money, you get that much money. But then what happened is now that CDs and records are fucking worthless, record labels introduced a thing called a 360 deal, which from what I understand is they take money from everything. They take money from the doors at venues. They take money from merch sales at shows. So bands get no money for anything. So all they can afford to do now is do meet and greets. Let's charge people money to fucking meet us and take pictures with us. Whereas back in the day, all your money from your music would go to the record label, but then you would make all the money from the venue, from the shows you play, and from the merch you sell, and from I figured Grimrock would have something to say about this too. Meet and greets and even VIP access stuff is worth doing, and he's right. Music has been undervalued. Yeah, yeah. Lars from Metallica, Lars Ulrich deserves so many apologies from so many people. He was totally in the right to go up against Napster like he did, and unfortunately, we could not see the future. I say we. I was in like first grade. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't know anything. But yeah, Lars Ulrich was like fucking hated worldwide for going up against Napster. Even Dave Grohl, Dave Grohl of all people, who now comes out on Twitter and cries about Donald Trump using his song at a fucking rally when he was bullshitting about that whole thing. Regardless, Dave Grohl went against Lars, did some interview talking about, I don't want to put a dime in my radio every time I want to hear Metallica. Like you're being he was being intentionally obtuse. That's not at all what was going on. Napster literally introduced stealing art. Like Gene Simmons has a great interview where he talks about the death of the music industry and rock and roll, and he says, everybody wants the stuff for free until you created it. He's like, what if you wrote a book and I came to your house and I took your book and gave it to all my friends for free? I said, no, it's okay. You have enough money. It destroyed the music industry. And then Gene Simmons also talked about, now that there's no music industry, and we've kind of talked about this too, how I always say there's no good rock and roll bands anymore. There probably are lots of good rock and roll bands, but it's impossible to find them because there's no centralized system. It used to be you turn on the radio and there's your good rock and roll bands. You turn on the TV, there's your good rock and roll bands. Now the system is so fucking blown open that you've got to go crawling around mysterious corners of the internet just to find any band that sounds kind of good. And there's no machine that makes superstars like there used to be, which is another thing that Gene Simmons said. He's like, dude, how many iconic musicians are there after like he said the 70s or 80s. In the interview, he said, "I'll give you Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, but after that, I would also argue the Used, but that's a generational thing." But yeah, that's why we don't have a Beatles, we don't have a Kiss, we don't have a Elvis Presley, like because there's no
Never will again either.
yeah, there's no centralized individual system that like makes the stars. It's just it's fucking like the Wild West on the internet. It's just chaos. Yeah, I've heard about this. Spotify pays 0.0037 cents per stream. How is that even a number of money? Like how cut up a physical penny into that exact like portion and show it to me because I'm very curious to know what that looks like. The problem is now you need a track to have 1,000 streams in a year to get paid by them. Oh, so if you don't reach enough, they won't even give you that 0.0037 cents if you don't make enough. Yeah, it's dude, imagine being on Spotify and getting like 1,000,000 streams and thinking like, oh, we're gonna be fucking rich, and you get like fucking $20 or whatever.
$20. Here you go. And you get
Yeah.
it in the mail. You're like, oh, sweet.
Dude,
And
for
then
like
it's a
for
$20.
for most of music history, if you sold 1,000,000 records, you were a made man for the rest of your life. Nowadays, you get 1,000,000 streams. You see it in like record certifications too. There's a band called Falling in Reverse. They put out an album in like 2011 and it just went gold a couple of years ago and it was like a huge deal. They were posting about it, people were celebrating. Like, dude, bands used to put out albums and they would go platinum within like a month. And then they would be made men for the rest of their life. Nowadays, albums don't certify for shit anymore because it's just a mess. And they're counting streams, but where do they count the streams? Where do they count the play? There's no really record sales to document. It's just chaos now all around the music world. So if my song, say Angry, gets to 1,000 streams in December, I only get paid prior to the 1K. Only by the rest of December or only by December? It just even that, even you explaining this to me, Grimrock, it just sounds like chaos. I'm like not entirely grasping it. And I think that kind of is like speaking to the point that it's just a mess. It's a total mess. Like I said, I'm sure there's tons of great musicians and rock bands out there, but they're not getting any exposure because we've got Cash Me Outside Girl and like Hawk Tuah Girl taking up all the air in the room.
Did you see how much money they said she just made recently?
No.
They said that Catch Me Outside girl made 15 million or something.
That's stupid.
Dude, she
did OnlyFans and she's fucking ugly. I don't understand.
All she did was go on Dr. Phil and humiliate her family, and she became a celebrity. And it's very
That's what it
strange.
takes today. We're over here trying. I mean, we would do this recreationally, but like, we're actually like, I don't know, like doing something, and like instead of just saying 3 words, and like, don't get the time of day. This girl talks about spitting on a dick, and she's a fucking millionaire for life.
Tell you what, if I got to go on Dr. Phil, I can make it happen for us. I should sign up for Dr. Phil. Dude, I'd go on Dr. Phil and pull my balls out.
Let's go. Let's do it.
I'd pull a Jim Morrison. You know, one of my favorite things that Jay has ever said, when I was on stream by myself, one time I said the Beatles are the greatest group of all time. I said my reasoning is that the Beatles had to stop playing live because they couldn't hear themselves playing over all the girls screaming. I said, what argument does anybody have to go against me? And Jay said, well, the Doors are the greatest band of all time because Jim Morrison pulled his dick out on stage. I was like, that's a good argument, honestly.
Touche.
Yeah, I still hold strong with the Beatles, but I will give you that Jim Morrison did pull his fucking wiener out on stage, and that is a big power move right there. This author that I really like is currently working on a Jim Morrison documentary that I'm very excited for. I can't wait for the remainder of December. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just chaos. I'm always bummed out by I really hate to be one of those like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation because everybody says that now, but dude, like Led Zeppelin was a real band at one point in time, and I was not 20 years old to experience it. That alone is like one of the biggest bummers of my life.
I absolutely love Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, dude, Grand Funk Railroad was a thing. Leonard Skinner was a thing, and I was not there. The Beatles existed, and I was not there for it.
Rolling Stones.
Yeah, but instead, here I am. This is where I am. It's a bummer. Doing something goes like this. I post a picture of my cat doing something cute. A couple thousand likes. Post a live stream. Nothing. Yeah, I always talk about how dude, on my Instagram feed, I see tons of like musical like virtuosos, like a 10-year-old kid shredding a Metallica song. It's got like 200 likes. The next post is a girl in her underwear. It's got like 2 million likes. It's
Right, yeah, that's so shitty, dude. Like real art and real talent, like people be like, a girl will make this awesome watercolor painting and it looks phenomenal and like be really the promoting it and being so sweet about it, but you get the fucking Hawk to a girl getting, our world is fucked up, dude. Technology ruined everything. I would take this all away in a second. If you told me tomorrow we could flip a switch and go back, I would do it in a heartbeat, dude.
yeah,
I
I'd make
mean, I enjoy doing this stuff with you guys, but I'd give all this up to go back to real life.
well, if we could go back far enough in time, we could still do this. But the way we would do it is we'd have a cauldron with like elephant's feet and like baby's breath, and we'd do some kind of magic spell and
Mhm.
broadcast ourselves over the
Yeah,
skies
yeah.
of the world. That'd be live streaming back in those
Mm.
times.
Sometimes I think I'm drunk and then I realize I am drunk. Sometimes I think I'm drunk and then I realize I am drunk.